El Niño in the upcoming winter season for 2023 to 2024 has grabbed the attention of millions of people across the US and Canada. But what about Europe? Well, you just found the video you've been looking for, so let's begin. To start this weather analysis, we have to understand the basics of big climate drivers first. First of all, the meaning of El Niño. El Niño is a climate pattern which refers to the unusual warming of ocean temperatures along the equator in the Pacific Ocean. Across the US, colder and wetter weather is common in the south during an El Niño, while the northern portion of the country into portions of Canada stays drier and warmer. For Europe, wetter and warmer than normal conditions is the overall trend in southern Europe, while northern Europe is generally colder than usual. This is the interesting part though. While an El Niño affects the US in one way, it affects Europe in a different way. The phase of the El Niño Southern Oscillation can have a domino effect on the weather all over the world. The way El Niño affects another climatological anomaly can be likened to an 8-ball pool game. El Niño and La Niña are both playing the game, and either one or the other can mean different impacts. For the 2022 to 2023 winter, it was La Niña's turn to change weather patterns. This year, it's El Niño's turn to hit the cue ball, which means a completely different set of results. The weather anomaly that has the biggest impact on the weather in Europe is called the NAO, which stands for the North Atlantic Oscillation, and it refers to the fluctuation of two recurring pressure patterns in the atmosphere over the North Atlantic. One is the Azorisch high pressure system, and the other is the Icelandic low. This does have an impact over the US, especially over the East Coast, but this anomaly is much more important to Europe. During the positive phase of the NAO, we typically see a big high-pressure system near the Iberian Peninsula with a strong Icelandic low-pressure system. Like I mentioned earlier, this pretty much locks the jet stream in between, bringing it from the northern US into northern Europe. This keeps northern Europe warmer and wetter, while southern Europe is colder and drier. This type of a weather pattern is typically associated with La Niña, which is not going to be the case this winter. But the opposite phase is called the negative phase of the NAO, which features a weak high-pressure system near the Iberian Peninsula with a very intense high-pressure system over Greenland, also referred to as the Greenland Block. This in turn allows for a much wavier jet stream. The wavier jet stream means more blasts of cold air into parts of the US and northern Europe, causing snowier weather over the northeast US and mid-Atlantic, and in Europe's case, colder but drier conditions over Scandinavia. The negative phase of the NAO is typically more associated with an El Niño, so that's exactly what I'm expecting to see this winter. So that's the effects of those teleconnections, but let's take a look at what the models are predicting for this winter, and specifically for the month of January. Just look at how organized the potential weather pattern will be. We have those wetter than normal conditions being forecast from southeast Texas all the way up the east coast of the US, signifying the prevalence of El Niño and possibly a strong negative NAO pattern. These higher moisture anomalies can be tracked across the Atlantic Ocean with that jet stream going right through southern Europe, which again perfectly reflects the typical El Niño pattern. Wetter in the south from Portugal, Spain, Italy, and even as far as Ukraine, with drier weather over Scandinavia and the UK. If we switch over to the temperature forecast by the same model, we can see that typical pattern once again. Widespread warmer than normal conditions being expected across the Iberian Peninsula, the Mediterranean, and as far east as Turkey and Ukraine. Meanwhile, much of northern Europe will be closer to average and perhaps colder than normal. I'm expecting warmer than normal conditions in the orange shade. Then across the blue, I'm thinking that colder than average temperatures will be possible, mainly because of the potential for a variable jet stream leading to Arctic invasions. I expect the coldest conditions in the darker blue over Scandinavia and the United Kingdom, but mainly during the middle to latter half of winter. El Niños do have a tendency to start mild but end cold in northern Europe. For the precipitation forecast, I'm expecting wetter than normal weather across much of southern Europe. The slightly darker green is where I think the wettest conditions can be expected, with lots of storms hitting that region through the winter. Next, the tan shade across northern Europe may see overall less precipitation than usual. The other two regions I've added represent the areas which I think have the biggest deficit in precipitation. over the UK and Scandinavia. This will be due to the potential for a less active storm track for those areas. And like I mentioned earlier, since El Niño's effect becomes more prevalent in Northern Europe in the second half of winter, it's also possible that Northern Europe will start off wetter before ending drier and colder. And now for the last portion of the video, my overall forecast for the winter season of 2023 to 2024 across all of Europe. I'm expecting to see warmer and wetter weather across much of southern Europe this winter, across Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, and many other countries. Far northern Africa may also see some stormier conditions as well, for places like Morocco and Libya. Across the pink in the United Kingdom, I expect a stormy and warm start to winter before switching towards a colder and possibly snowier winter as we start 2024. A similar pattern looks to set up for Scandinavia with a warmer and stormy start, transitioning towards a colder second half of winter. This will be due to the development of a large high-pressure system over Norway, Sweden, and Finland, keeping things cold. The colder air will be felt further south in the purple region, which can expect snowstorms and Arctic invasions, primarily in January and February. And that will conclude my official European winter forecast. If you did enjoy this weather report, definitely consider subscribing. This weather channel does focus on weather events mainly in the US, but if you do like weather breakdowns and even the occasional video regarding European weather, I'm sure you'll like to stay tuned. Thanks for watching and see you on the next video.